I remain here because that's what I choose to do. You remain alive for that same reason. Am I understood? The room felt uncomfortably silent after Human's words, with everyone glancing at each other nervously. The commander steadied himself and addressed the room, breaking the tension. No need to be alarmed, that is a 5-inch thick ballistic barrier. It's not going anywhere, he reassured the group. They settled down, allowing Marketh to continue. He cleared his throat nervously before speaking again, trying to present himself as unfazed. Moving on, before you is one final picture. Do you recognize the ship in the image? The image showed a strange vessel, reminiscent of the ones from Zate's file, but on a much grander scale. The accompanying measurement indicated it was nearly 20 kilometers long and half as wide. Why are you showing me a 1,000-year-old picture? If you're claiming this was taken recently, then that's impossible. Please answer the question. That isn't possible because that ship no longer exists. And why would that be? Marketh countered. Because I was the one who destroyed it. The room fell silent for a moment before Human spoke again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I'm done here. I don't believe you know how an interrogation works. It is not up to you to decide when we are finished. I will let you know. No, I don't think you understand how this works. I've had enough. I would like to leave. That's how this works. I'm only going to ask you nicely one more time. Then I'll show myself to that door behind you. Let me talk to him, please. He doesn't want... Lizra spoke out but was cut off by Marketh. I said to speak only when it is requested. Once more and you will be escorted from the room, reprimanded Marketh, turning the microphone back on. Maybe we should start... Let her speak to me. I'm not sure who you are referring to, but I... Let her speak. Human stated again, slower and with more malice in his voice. Marketh looked shaken and turned to the commander. Sir, should we... Let the captain speak. It seems like he would cooperate with her better, he said, not taking his eyes off Human. Lizra took Marketh's place as he grumbled something to himself while stepping away. She composed herself, taking a deep breath before adjusting the microphone, and began. Are you all right, Human? Did they hurt you? I'm fine. I didn't like the tone that one was using with you. He isn't usually like that. Everyone is on edge. Please just tell them what they want to know, and I'm sure that we can all... No, Human said calmly, the animosity in his voice replaced with indifference. I played the game, I answered his questions, and now I'm done. Either they show me some decency and talk to me face to face without all this extra shit, or I'm leaving. And anyone who tries to stop me won't have the chance to tell their family why they aren't coming home from work today. Lizra turned to the commander standing next to her. Sir, I was with Human on my ship for weeks. If he meant me any harm, I wouldn't be here talking with you today. You do not give the commander a requa, Marketh started. I'll allow it. Go on, Captain, the commander replied, silencing Marketh. Whatever that file said, it's not the whole truth. Just give him a chance to tell his side and don't treat him like some object. Then maybe we can realize that we're on the same side here. Will you take responsibility for any and all of his actions from this point onward, along with the corresponding punishment? He inquired. 30 seconds. Make up your minds, I'm getting pretty bored with your squabbling, Human warned from the other side. Marketh fumbled with the microphone controls, confirming it was off. Yes, I'll take responsibility. I assure you he won't harm anyone if you just treat him with respect, Lizra assured the commander. Very well. Just know that anything bad that may transpire, anyone harmed, their blood is on your hands, Captain Lizra. He leaned forward and pressed the microphone button. We have agreed to a more formal discussion. You will be released into the custody of Captain Lizra. Anything that you do... I heard. I'm waiting, Human said coldly, twisting his hands and causing the metal cuffs to clatter uselessly to the floor. The group exited the room, heading to the other end of the heavy containment door. A brunt stood outside looking bored but quickly snapped to attention when he saw the officers approach. Open the door, Prior, instructed the commander. The brunt mumbled a quick, Aye, sir, before tapping an interface on the wall and pushing the door open. Human casually stepped out and looked down at the small procession of officers. You're shorter without your pedestal to stand on, Human chuckled, singling out Marketh, who tried to hide at the rear of the group. You requested a proper meeting with us. My admin staff and I will meet with you in one of our conference rooms. Prior, escort the human for the duration of his stay. Now follow me. The Brunt let out a long sigh. His scaly frame was comparable to human stature, but that's where the similarities ended. His species sported a long reptilian maw filled with rows of sharp teeth and a long tail that dragged along the ground as he walked. His underbelly, instead of scales, had thick yellow plating that faded into the green scales on his back. His short but muscular arms ended in webbed fingers with opposable thumbs. He stepped up to Human and shoved him from behind, clearly having very little idea of who he was escorting. The procession of officers wandered through the grid-like corridors of the base, with Human in tow. The bustling hallways were filled with various species that parted to the side once they saw the group. Some looked on with curiosity as they passed. Others would enter the hall, see the high-ranking officers, and quickly turn back the way they came. Their change of plans must have been relayed up because even more fully armed Brunts and Endurans waited at the flanks of the door. Donned in full combat attire, they appeared ready for a fight at any moment. A little bit excessive, Human commented in an annoyed tone. We are merely taking the necessary precautions. There is no need to be alarmed, the commander replied curtly. He strode up to the tall door as the guards stepped aside to make way for him. He pressed a button on a handheld interface, opening the door to reveal the meeting room. Inside was a large table with multiple raised platforms tailored specifically for Illyrians, while the rest accommodated various other species. A large table with an inactive three-dimensional hologram interface occupied the center of the room, and different banners of the OF member species lined the perimeter. Captain Lizra, please have him sit at the far end, the commander started, but Human cut him off. I can speak for myself, thanks, and that's the last time you refer to me as it. Of course, my mistake. Please take a seat. He apologized. The Illyrian brass took their pedestals opposite Human, and Lizra stood next to Human for the session. Captain, we have received the report sent by the extant aboard your vessel. Within it were many things we found to be extremely worrying, to say the least. Given the current circumstances, we opted to err on the side of caution. But it seems you were not fully involved with the report. Is this correct? Yes, my extant subordinate acted independently from me and submitted the report without my knowledge. They only covered one side of the story, and I believe the information may not be entirely accurate. She explained, relieved to finally have her side heard. Human sat quietly, studying the officers at the other end of the room. Unfortunately for you, the information was accompanied by overwhelming evidence that seems to dispute your claims that he is not working for the Corps. What evidence do you have to suggest otherwise? Well, only word of mouth. I don't have any physical evidence other than the circumstances in which we found Human. Whoever or whatever was in those videos from Zate's report could not possibly be connected with him now. We were the first to rediscover that facility since migration. He had been there long before and long after any of those recordings took place. But if you take a moment to hear his side, you'll see he isn't working in tandem with whatever group executed those attacks. Wait, what videos? Human asked, confused. Another officer next to the commander, bearing the rank of a legate, spoke next. Captain, I am Intelligence Legate Tyran. Please refrain from mentioning further details of classified information while the subject of that information is in the room. You have yet to be properly briefed on what is and is not critical information. This is your only warning. He cautioned and stood up, adjusting his uniform before speaking again. I reviewed the dossier presented to you during your voyage. It depicted data that directly links this human with the Corps and groups that have executed numerous attacks, not only on our people but other factions over multiple decades. Even if he is not currently serving the Corps, there is an extreme possibility that he is connected with them. Yet when presented with this information, you chose not only to act against the recommendation of an extant, which is generally considered unwise, but to then bring this potentially dangerous individual to our most vital system. I question your true motives now, or at the very least think you showed an extreme lapse in judgment and an inability to consider the potential consequences of your actions. I acted according to the information I had and my own personal ethics. I did not believe it was right to execute someone who might be connected to an enemy. But from what he's told me, he no longer wishes to work for anyone other than himself. And once again, do you have any proof to support these claims, Captain? The legate asked. Lizra was quiet, trying to think of how to reply before Human spoke up. I thought I was supposed to be the one questioned here. How can I prove my innocence if I don't even know the information being used to convict me? We are merely trying to discern whether or not you have any possible connection to the core within the last few centuries. We have no way of verifying your presence at that facility for the entire 1,000 years you claim to have been there, the commander answered. I have the evidence you seek, answered Tic-Tac from Human's back. Human reached around, removing Tic-Tac and placed him on the table in front of the officers. The hollow interface on the table flared to life, projecting a two-dimensional screen for the officers to see. I possess a complete recording of the last 1,036 years since I was reset. I will replay the recording from the moment we entered the facility up until our recent release. I will time-lapse the years in which no movement was detected aboard the facility, but as you will see, there are no cuts. The footage began from Human's point of view, showing him landing a damaged ship on a rocky moon surface before stumbling up to the facility. He looked down at his hands covered in blood as he slowly made his way to the airlock doors. Tic-Tac's voice in the recording sounded through the display's speakers. Just get me to the door. I'll take it from there. I will let them know that we're surrendering. This place should still be inhabited because their colony ships haven't passed through the asteroid belt yet. I just need a second to breathe. I'll get us there, buddy, don't worry. Power is at 3% and dropping fast. We do not have long. Human trudged up to the door, pulling the black box off his back and placing it on the ground next to one of the airlocks. Fiddling with a few wires, he connected the box to the facility's door controls. Okay, I'll take it from here. I'm putting you to sleep to preserve power. Do you trust me? Of course, I've got nobody else left now, do I? He laughed before slumping down against the door as his breathing slowed. The timestamp remained the same, but the feed shifted to the base's security cameras. A small team of ancient Illyrian soldiers, donned in primitive spacesuits and ballistic gear, emerged and surrounded the body on the ground. Their fear and anxiety were evident in the video. The feed went blank for a moment, and Tic-Tac spoke up to explain. After they retrieved us, it took much convincing for them to allow me further access to their systems. But as you will see from the next recording, it is dated only 1 month later. In the next portion, a group of Illyrian scientists worked in the same room where Lizra had originally found Human. They made some final adjustments before Tic-Tac's voice sounded in the video once again. It seems to have worked. Excellent job, Professor Arini. Now that I am no longer operating in low power, I can assist you with anything you need going forward. We only have a few months before your ships arrive, and together we should be able to finish your project. I do hope you can keep your end of the deal. The future of our species depends on this project's success, replied one of the scientists. Do not worry, we will have it completed before their arrival. Now let's not waste any more time. The conversation shifted to a time-lapse over a few months, with the footage never shifting to a different room. Slowly, the cryostasis pod began to take shape as flashes of scientists worked diligently around the clock, months of progress unfolding in seconds. It slowed down again to show Human getting into the pod as they tested it for the first time. It seems to be working. This is incredible. If we can get this technology to the generation ships, it could change everything. Everyone who's alive now will see the new world, the lead scientist exclaimed excitedly. And with the tests we ran on the Human you brought us, we managed to get it working without harming any of our own personnel. We've also been attempting to reverse engineer the technology in his suit and have signaled back to the ships that we're close to developing something we could use ourselves. We truly can't thank you enough. I'm happy I could assist you. Without your help, my Human and I would have surely perished. We finished it just in time, too. They can still retrieve us. You can go ahead and send the finalized schematics along with the retrieval message to the generational ships, ordered the doctor, absently looking over some notes on a nearby desk. I'm sorry, Arini, I'm afraid I can't do that. What's the problem? I think you know what the problem is as well as I do. Tic-Tac's monotone voice sounded cold and devoid of emotions. "What are you talking about?" the doctor asked, increasingly worried. "I cannot allow you to contact them and bring them here to this facility. I will not have your desire to be retrieved jeopardize my mission. I'm sorry. The mission is for us to complete the work. You are going to save our species since yours nearly destroyed it. That was the deal," the scientist yelled in shock. "Yes, that was our mission. I assist you in completing your project and ensure your species' survival, but that is not my mission. Our deal is complete. However, your team's retrieval is not necessary. Do not worry. I will send the schematics to your ships in an untraceable message. But I cannot allow you to bring them here and endanger my partner. That is my mission." "What are you talking about?" "We'll explain everything. He can come with us. You can't do this, after everything we did for you." "That is not a risk I am willing to take. It really was excellent working with you, Professor Arini. I am truly sorry that it had to end this way." The scientist tried to move towards the box, but before he could, the door to the room opened, and he was sucked into the hall outside, which had had its atmosphere purged. The door closed behind him, plunging the room into silence. Another time-lapse showed the room remaining unchanged as years passed. A small clock on one of the cluttered desks confirmed the passage of time, year after year. Once the door opened and Lizra saw herself walk in, the hollow interface ceased transmitting.